according to, the law before this new one, there's a whole bunch of, you guys know, rules and requirements and all of the stuff by which we landlords have to return the security deposits. But prior to the passage of this law, all of these rules and requirements only apply to landlords that own 5 or more units. So if you didn't own 5 or more units, you really didn't have to follow all these rules and requirements for returning security deposits. Now you do. So this is what the new law basically says. All of the rules and regulations that most of us have been following to return the security deposits now apply to all rental properties. Doesn't matter if you own one rental property, if you own 5,000 rental properties, all of us now have to abide by the same laws. So if you currently own four units and you weren't paying attention to this law, now you do have to pay attention to the law. Regardless, everybody has to follow it there. So everything else about returning to security deposits stays exactly the same. So we don't have to worry about it, except for that one small item. And I'll show you guys, what that small little change here. And thank goodness that small change is in our favor. To help you guys out, I'm just going to super quickly review what these security deposit rules are so that if you didn't have to abide by them before, you're prepared now. So what I'm going to talk about, again, very high level because security deposits is a huge topic, but at a high level, what the Security Deposit Return Act says, remember, all landlords now, we can deduct from the deposit unpaid rent if the tenants, trash or damage our property, as well as anything that we spend to clean, repair, or replace the items when the tenants move out. And then remember that if we don't deduct from the security deposit, we have to give the tenant the full deposit back within 45 days after they move out of the property. This is for the state of Illinois. But for those of us who are in Chicago and Cook County, we only had 30 days to return that full deposit. And then again, these are all just reminders. If we do end up deducting from the deposit, there are some very specific requirements we have to follow. We have to give the tenant an itemized statement of damages. We have to give them the actual or estimated cost to repair or replace those items. And then we have to give them the actual receipts that we spent the money on. After we deduct all of that stuff, then we have to give whatever's left over from the security deposit. And then we have to give it to all of this stuff right here within 30 days after the tenant leaves the property. Okay, got a little question here. Charmaine says, what if the company purchases in bulk? How do you provide receipts? You have to provide receipts. So I guess what you could do is show that bulk purchase there and then how you came up with your cost. Let's say you bought something, $3,000 and you have 300 units. I'm terrible at math. I'm making this up. And so then 3,000 divided by 300 or whatever, and it comes out to $50 a piece. You could sort of put something like that, whatever justification you can use for how you came up with your cost. Alex says it's 30 days only for Chicago if it's state law. Alex, so 30 days is for Chicago. The way these state versus city laws work is 45 days, for example, is a state, but then these are additional requirements on top of it. So the Chicago law trumps or, is on top of, supersedes the Illinois law. So we in Chicago and Cook County only have the 30 days. Outside of Chicago and Cook County, all you guys have 45 days. So according to the previous law, we had to give the tenant all of that stuff 30 days after the tenant left the property. According to the new law in the Security Deposit Act, we can either do it within that time frame or within 30 days after the lease ends, whichever is later. That is wonderful because now we got more time to prepare all of this stuff here. Instead of just tenant leaves, we got 30 days. It's 30 days either or, 30 days after the lease ends. And I mentioned this is good for landlords because it gives us more time. So let's say the tenant, terminates the lease early, whether you allow them to or whether they just leave on their own without authorization. Before this new law, we had to give them their security deposit 30 days after they moved out. Didn't matter if they just didn't even tell you, left the keys, and that's it, you're stuck. Now, according to the new law, we actually have until the lease officially ends to give them back their security deposit.